I had no control over what was going on in my life, my decision-making processes. My moral had gone.
So we got into a shootout, and I didn't see the guy pull out a Mac-10 machine gun. And then in that moment when he pulled it out, that's when I prayed to God and said, God, if this kid's going to shoot me, please let him shoot me in my lower body. He lowered it and then let off all 30 shots.
And I got addicted to violence, and I just started fighting aggressively and frequently and looking for it more than once in a night sometimes.
Firearms had power. I knew that with a firearms, you can do more things. You can create more damage. You can get rival gang members down.
And that was it. Like, my life was gone. Everyone's life just changed.
The criminal damage was my thing. Like, I love criminal damage. I love to smash things. I love to smash windows. I smashed one window that would cost £850 and one window that was £650, huge windows. But then I used to just get a throw out of the smash. So I would steal the bus stop, the bus hammer that was the back of the bus for emergencies. And I would just have this little bus hammer with a diamond tip, and I would just go around smashing every window I could find. And I don't know if that was a cry for attention or just like an impulse, recklessness, or some sort of thrill or stimulation or desire to feel. But whatever it was, I got a lot of criminal damage convictions racked up. And by 14, I had an ASBO. So I had an antisocial behaviour order, which is obviously directly linked to antisocial. And I was banned from certain areas and couldn't be around a certain amount of people.
I grew up in South Manchester, in an area called Moss Side. The south part of Manchester is known as Gunchester. It was a load of shootings in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and now it's stabbings. So it was the roughest part of Manchester to grow up. At the time, I thought it was a normal childhood with getting beat by my mum, dad not being there, because growing up in the community, I'm not saying all, but a lot of black fathers weren't present. So most of my friends had single dads, so I just thought it was something normal. My dad was a popping dad, so you know who your dad was. He'd come in probably once a week, once every 2 weeks, go on like he's being a dad, give you £10, take it back off you, say, oh, give me the tenner back, I need cigs. But it wasn't a dad in terms of taking us anywhere. I heard my mum struggling for money, borrowing money for food. So he wasn't a man, he wasn't a father, he was a sperm donor. I had an older brother called Gary, and Gary was 2 years older than me, so we slept in the same bedroom. I used to have his hand-me-down clothes. I remember the bike, the Wildcat bike, where you pressed the button, it made noise. I had his hand-me-down bike, but Gary was my best friend. He was like my brother, my dad, my soulmate. We did everything together. So Gary was from the age of, say, 8, 9. He started passing drugs between my dad and my uncle, and that's facts. I say that all the time, that's facts. And Gary told me, I'll never forget when he told me, when we was a bit older in life, and we were drug dealers and everything, and we was smoking a spliff and we chilling, I never forget him say, I never had a chance, bro. Dad used to give me a big bag, a quick save bag, and obviously one time he looked in it and said he remembers his nose getting funny, feeling funny, because he said he looked like sand. Obviously that was heroin. And he gave it to my uncle, and then my uncle gave him a big bag of cash. So he knew about selling drugs from when he was 8, 9 years old. When we moved to Rusholme, which was like a deprived area, what do you think he was going to do when we got into hard times? So he never really had a chance. And when you look at it, we both never had no chance, and that's the parents. As a young kid, I'm making money. I'm a gangster. I'm in your car now, and you're a gangster with the big chain. Forget boys in the hood. I am Ricky in the front seat, like bullying kids, never coming in. Because when you're going into school, and even though, yeah, you're selling weed, you start smoking weed, so people think you make a lot of money. No, it's a perception. So when I got that from young, like I'm selling weed, say I've got £50 profit, I'm smoking it with me and my friends. So when I still have to go to school, you're pulling out £10 to buy food. I've got a dinner ticket. Wait a minute, I'm a gangster. So I start robbing kids at the ice cream van and charging kids to move up in the dinner line. And obviously the school had enough of it and kicked me out. Then I just thought, after a lot of years, I'm going to go full hard-fledged in the street. I want to be that gangster from Rusholme with Gary. I want to have that name. I want to hurt as many gang members as I can. I want to be disrespectful. I want to have that bad name. But that's stupid.
I don't think I was somebody that people think this man's, at that age, or that young boy at that age is going to be somebody who's going to go to jail for murder. I had fights with people, school fights, I wasn't in a gang or nothing like that. I had friends, maybe used to get in trouble and stuff like that, and maybe they were associated in gangs and stuff like that. But me as an individual would say I was more of a defender to my friends and my family, And I think those are the type of things that used to get me into trouble, and did. Even when I was in secondary school, a boy threatened to slap my little sister. She was only year 7 and he was in my year. I was year 11 at the time. So I approached him and it went off, you know, and me and him ended up rolling around. And obviously I don't go out of my way to go and approach them and challenge them like some, you know what I mean, bully hero, you know what I mean? Like, just if it comes my way, I'll deal with it, you know what I mean? If you're troubling one of my people, then I'm going to deal with it. I'm not going to stand for it, you know?
I was someone that wanted to be in the crowd, not trying to be by myself. So that led me to start thinking of ways I can be in the crowd permanently, in terms of being the most coolest kid, or probably being the most feared kid in school. My focus wasn't too much about what I'm learning in school. It was about what other people think of me. I quickly wanted things that my parents couldn't afford, my mum couldn't afford. So that just led me to wanting it. And when I started to realize that if I can't afford it, then I'm not relevant or cool, it just made me get like depressed, made me frustrated, made me put pressure on my mum. Why can't I afford it? Why are we not the same, and so and so? And why can't I get new kickers? Why can't I get a new North Face jacket? And it started making me a bit angry, because the answers were always, I can't afford it. No, stop watching what other people have. Focus on yourself from a very young age. And I feel like that just got me in a space where I felt left out. I quickly saw that if you have loads of money, if you have the cool stuff, you have the cool item, then people are drawn to you. Like, they want to be in your space, they want to hear what you have to say. But if you don't have them things, then you're basically irrelevant, you don't matter. My friends' older brothers were already getting a lot of money. They were getting a lot of money through crime. He used to always show us that there's more to it, there's more money to make. And then we was intrigued and thinking, whoa, like, how do you make that money? How do you make the so on? So us being annoying as it obviously we are, being like younger than them, we started asking questions, started following them, remarking new trainers and so on, and just watching the patterns, watching movements. Then when the opportunity came to start selling Class B as young as 10, 11, I took the opportunity.
My girlfriend at the time, her mum was in the prison service. She said, well, why don't you apply to join the prison service? I was completely the wrong person to do that job. I mean, looking back on it, you know, the credentials of a prison officer, first and foremost, you can't be a people pleaser. Well, I think I'd spent most of my life trying to do that. I didn't look at it from a discipline side of that I would have to inflict or follow discipline. I mean, I'm not stupid. I understand it. What a jail is, you know. People are in there for doing certain things, and you would have to kind of upkeep that. When you go into that environment, it's like, it's nothing that I've ever experienced.
I'd put myself in situations where I would get hurt. What I used to do is I used to get myself in situations where I would just get jumped, and I used to actually not fight back. I'm not sure if I was scared or just unfamiliar, or was in that freeze moment, because when my dad hit me, I would freeze. When I was being sexually abused, I froze. So I, up until literally 17 years old, I actually used to get jumped like quite regularly, and they used to just get me on the floor and start kicking me, and I used to just wait till they finished and then just get back up and laugh it off. And I didn't care at all, and I don't know if I wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but no, I probably did a little bit. There's a part of me that did. I don't know why, and I was kind of there with, because I didn't have that bravado, you know, I wasn't I was tiny, I was skinny, I was tall, but I was skinny. So I wasn't like the big hard man. So instead, I was just the crazy one that could take it and didn't care. Over the next few years, my life went crazy. But there was this one time where I was in a nightclub, and I remember this guy that had jumped me not so long before with a group of his friends. And my fist just came up and just punched him in the face. And I promise you now, I had absolutely no intention of doing it whatsoever. It just involuntarily happened from somewhere. And then bouncers kicked me out, and I just felt like the most powerful man in the world. I felt great, and I was just like, this is it. And I got addicted to violence, and I just started fighting aggressively and frequently and looking for it, to the point where I was fighting almost more than once in a night sometimes. Like, I'd get kicked out of a nightclub, I'd have my shirt ripped off, and then I didn't do this a lot of times, but there would be times sometimes where I would literally pay homeless people for their t-shirt so that I could put it back on, go to the back of the queue and get back in, and then jump back into the fight again. And yeah, obviously that racked up a lot of charges, and I ended up having a very chaotic life for a few years of drink, drugs, violence, with some very serious offences, GBHs, ABHs, a fray. From going from a little teenager who didn't fight back to going to someone that would stamp on people's heads and, you know, put them in comas. there is no reason why that wouldn't have progressed into murder. I don't think I would ever be a serial killer. I never got a thrill or a thought how amazing would it be to kill somebody, but it happening in a scenario, it's quite possible, really.
You can tell some kids want to be in that life. So I'd let you get in the car, put a chain in you, give you a name, drive. And I know you're thinking, I'm thinking, wow, my nickname was Skelly. I was a skinny guy. I'm with Skelly. Got the gangster music on. We're hitting a corner slow. We're smoking and bring you to the older parties. The girls know who you are now. You're selling drugs. You feel like a man. One or two you feel bad for because you're using them and they're going to get spit up and chewed up and spat out. But most of them now, because the way I've seen it is, it's better you getting 13 months in jail than me getting my second time 4, 5, 6 years. And then other ways was you groom the mum. So you got the mum who's got 2 kids. You see her coming from Quick Save. Back then Quick Save was the best place. And she's got like no frills. She's only got 2 bags. So you go to the house and this is someone in your area, so they know you. You can't just go to a stranger. But someone who knows you, I'm like, oh, you're right, Matthew, can I use your toilet? So I've gone there, I've left a bit of weed upstairs. And then she's phoned me, oh, you've left something in the toilet. I've just put it in a bag. So I come and got it and said, yeah, I gave her some money. And I just said, listen, I know you're struggling. If me and my brother come here, we'll give you 5 ton a week. But anytime we come more than twice, we'll give you, like, say, £150, £200. So when we're doing drug dealers, like people from Birmingham are coming, we'd use her house. But then she's making more money. So now you see a leather settee, which everyone wanted, the recliners. Instead of going to Quick Save and getting 2 bags, she's coming back in a taxi. Her kids, instead of having like Dunlop trainers, now I've got Nike going back to school. And I know it's bad. And then some of them, you sleep with them because, you're somebody and they feel that you love them. You tell them all that crap. But the bad part is when they want to stop and then she wants to stop, but you just basically use the money. Now, if you pull the money out of this house, she's going back to struggling. And these people don't really want to do it no more, but you're addicted to the money and you see it. It doesn't make you feel good, but needs must.
I knew that firearms had power. I knew that with a firearms, you can do more things. You can create more damage. You can get rival gang members down. It's almost a status of power. We grew up in a certain area and we had conflict with another areas, and it was a term of, this was our turf, that's their turf, and now certain people were getting hurt from either turf. Like certain my friends were getting stabbed, certain their friends were getting stabbed, and it was war. It was like, if we see one of them, then we're trying to kill them. If they see one of us, they're trying to kill us. At those times, my life was in danger in terms of being sliced, being stabbed. It almost felt like this is normal. This is the path that I've chosen. So when those things did occur, it wasn't a thing where I actually had to reflect on it. It was just about, this is normal, move on, and just make sure you make it out. And it didn't shake me up or anything like that in terms of, like, stop me. It just made me think, it's my fault. Why did I not have a gun on me at that time? Why did I not have a bigger knife?
I had a best friend at the time. He had a girlfriend. She told him that she was raped by somebody. And then, like, when he told me, I was like, wow, it was a lot to take in. He was crying when he told me as well, so that was a lot for me. I was like, what? Like, and I said to him, what do you want to do about this situation? We come up with a plan to approach him. And we approached this man. Violence happened. And he lost his life. And that was it. Like, my life was gone. Everyone's life just changed. That night, there was a local man that wanted to use the phone box, and I wouldn't let him use it. I said, use the one next door. It was double phone boxes. He said, nah, that one's only card. This one takes coins. Like, I've had to get a bit extra aggressive on him, like, and say, listen, you're not using this, like, seriously. And he was like, all right. And he's the same man who went to the police when he saw the Crime Stoppers board, and he said, I've seen them guys. And the police never had no other leads. So they thought, all right, let's listen to this guy. He ain't got nothing else to go on. Let's see where it goes. And for them, it bingoed. But I'm being realistic about it. The amount of evidence they got and stuff. They managed to get DNA on stuff. And I was like, she's not looking good. I said, not guilty to murder, but guilty to manslaughter. So I'm basically saying, look, I'll put my hands up to it. Yeah, I did it, but I didn't intend to do it. It developed a brain hemorrhage, and then they stopped it, and then I think days later another one happened, and they couldn't stop that one, and then cardiac arrest happened off of that. So he didn't exactly like die immediately on the spot on the same day, but it gets technical because they say if you go out with the intention to hurt somebody and them injuries cause the man or whoever's murder, then that's, man's death, then it's murder.
It was a build-up. It wasn't particularly one afternoon I thought, do you know what, I'm going to do it. I think at that point I'd started to drink. In fact, I know I had started to drink to not even unwind, just to kind of stop thinking. I think that was building and building and building over maybe a year. And the relationships, like I said, with the lads, I was quite close with them. They obviously saw that I was probably on the decline due to pressures, drinking, outside life, home life. And it may start with, I don't know, an extra phone call. It may start with an extra shower. And I think they're the little kind of throw-in-tos to see what you're like. And I think over time that was building up. And that basically is the day that I went into the cell. There was a lad in there who I eventually said yes to, whose father was very unwell. And he was in hospital. Now, it was actually in his notes. So I knew that was genuine. So I'm in the cell. The lad's been upset for 2-3 days. So I went in, he's in bits. My dad. Upon, as I was about to leave, he said, at the time, Davo, trying to soften that relationship of officer-prisoner. And he said, Davo, please, I'll do anything. Will you bring me a mobile phone in? And I was like, don't be stupid. Walked out the cell, made sure he was all right, walked out the cell. I think on maybe dinner rounds, he'd asked again. And I said, no, stop asking me. And I don't know why, but it was probably on my mind at dinner. So when he asked me again, the worst thing I ever did, I said, well, how am I going to do that? I had no control over what was going on in my life, my decision-making processes, my moral had gone, clearly, because I just said, how do I do it? And he handed me a number on a little fag packet, for want of a better word. And he said, I'll give you, 400 quid for doing it. So I called the number. I drove out of the city for some reason into a phone box, when you used to be able to put money in a phone box. I drove into a phone box, dialed the number, thinking I was some mastermind, and then arranged to meet these lads. And they said, right, well, we'll be 40 minutes. So I knew they were coming from down Merseyside way. So yeah, he said, right, we'll meet you in a hotel car park at the bottom of the city. Pulled my car up. A car pulled next to me. And I kind of looked, and it was two lads, obviously with the hoodies on and whatnot. They didn't want to be seen, because for them it could be a setup as well. Wound the window down. I looked across. One of them nodded. He said, are you Lee? I said, yes. And, there was no transaction, no niceties. It was a case of chucked something into my car, and then a roll of like 400 notes, and then drove off. Now I'm sat in my car thinking, what the hell have I just done?
I went to jail the second time. I got 4.5 years for drug dealing again. I did 2 years, 3 months. And when I got out, I went to war with Dodderton again. And I took my little brother and his friend, JJ, was I think 19. His friend was 16. We got on mountain bikes, and we used to ride our bikes with no hands, and the guns already out like that, both hands just riding like that, looking down the streets. And that was Gary's idea. Gary was militant. I said, why are we doing that? It's like, so if we see man, we've already got it. We can start shooting. They've got to take it out of their waist, which is a few seconds. I've gone to my side to shoot these because we knew where Dodderton boys chill, obviously. It backfired. We had a 45 or the 44. We only had like 4 shots in it. It was a revolver, I hold 6. So we got into a shootout, and I didn't see the guy pull out a Mac 10 machine gun. And then in that moment when he pulled it out, that's when I prayed to God and said, God, if this kid's going to shoot me, please let him shoot me in my lower body. He lowered it and then let off all 30 shots. Chased me down again, got into another shooting, got to my son's granddad's house. My brother's come, we drive into the hospital. We see the paramedics and the police outside the car. So I jump out, I'm hobbling. They throw me on the ground, the battered Gary, the battered Nathan. And then I'm like to them, never forget. And the police admitted it because the police guy now I work with him, he went, I remember getting that call on the radio and we laughed. And when we got there, so I'm like, call the ambulance back, because the ambulance drove off. He's like, we've got to wait for the arm response. The nearest arm response is in Cheshire. That's 45 minutes. You got to wait. Probably been bleeding like 45 minutes already. And I'm in and out of consciousness. He goes, we don't care if you die. The people that you've shot and your brother's murdered and the kids that lives you've messed up, we don't care if you die. I started laughing and turned around and like carried on this conversation. And I remember thinking, wow, you're police, you pay to care. I'm a criminal, I ain't supposed to care. And then when I woke up in the hospital, I'm handcuffed, I've got the gas and air on, and the doctor's gone, it's gone in and out your left thigh. So I'm arguing with this doctor, this young doctor, saying, well, you know, my whole body feels funny. And he's like, oh, that's your body because you've been shot, rare. So I'm proper arguing with him, and the arm response, I'll never forget, just banged me in the side of my mouth, like, shut your mouth. So obviously, look at him, you see all of him, like 5'6", built like brick houses. You think, yeah, shut your mouth, Matthew, they've all got guns. But I'll never forget when the doctor come, I'm lying down, it's gone in and out your left leg, son. And he's held my penis with two hands and it's gone through the bottom of my penis. So it was like a snap branch, and he's gone, you've been shot in your penis. And I've just gone. And I blacked out. Like when I seen it mangled, I blacked out. And then the next morning I woke up and then I'm like, what's that bag? I've never seen a catheter bag. So I'm like, where's that tube going? The doctor come and it's gone, yeah, it went in your left leg, went through your penis, it's gone through your right testicle and it's in your right leg. So I was like, so how many bullets? He went, just one. And then Gary's come in and Gary wouldn't look at me, he just walked straight to the window and you can see her turn, he's like, you all right, bro? And I'm like, yeah, it's part of the game. He's like, you know, we've got to get man back for shooting you. I'm like, bro, it's part of the game, look what we've did. From that day, I weren't playing games, I wanted to shoot anybody that I thought you were a threat. I weren't even asking who you are, I'm just pulling my gun out and shooting.
I remember being sat in the garden, clear as day, drinking. This was maybe 11 o'clock in the morning. I'd gone to the shop and bought a newspaper. And I opened the middle page spread, and it was mobile phones in Lancaster jail. So at that point, obviously I'm now thinking the game is up. So I go in the jail and I've now strapped 2 packages of fairly chunky stuff to my undercarriage, call it. Going in and I'm scouting the car park thinking there's no police, there's nothing untoward in this jail, I'm okay. As I'm walking in, I'm now thinking, door opens. Eiley, can I have a word? And I thought, no, yeah, you can do, yeah. Obviously, I'm doing somersaults in my mind and my stomach. But it wasn't untoward. Sometimes people did want a word with you, to find out what's going on the wing or to tell you that someone may have tried to harm themselves or hang themselves. So I was still cool at that point. And I looked and I said, yeah, no problem. And he kind of closed the door and he said, I don't want to have to ask you this. I saw this guy last week, by the way. He didn't speak to me. He said, I don't want to ask you this. Have you got anything on you that you shouldn't have? And I said, no, nothing. Just my sandwiches and a drink and PE kit, shall we call it. And he went, I'm going to ask you again, have you got anything on you today that you shouldn't have? And I said, no. He said, I'm going to have to take you upstairs. There's a Northwest area search team waiting for you. And at that point, it was like, boom, game up. I went up the stairs. There was 2 sniffer dogs. There was some fairly big prison officers and a governor and maybe the number 2 governor as well. So it was kind of like, I knew it was up. And I went over to the dogs and I said to the guy who's asked me, who's a principal officer, kind of like senior management on the wing, I said, do you know what? Stop there. I'm going to give you what you want. I reached into where I had them. I gave them the packages and I said, I'm sorry. He said, you know the protocol, we're still going to have to strip search you. So even after doing that, I then had to go into a room and strip search, as you would a prisoner. And that room then, I know this is going to sound ridiculous. It's kind of all the anxiety and all the stress just left my body. Right. It's like, it's up. Someone else has taken the ball out of my court. Someone else has taken a decision away from me. And it's going to sound mental, but it was like a relief. I knew in my mind I'd be going to jail, but I sat there, the governor was sat on the desk, he started asking me loads of questions, tell us who you're involved with, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it's the calmest I've ever been. I just went, I'm really sorry, I'm not going to speak to you until I've spoken to my solicitor.
I was actually only 3 times that I went to prison. The first one was for the van, and the second one was for breaching my probation. And the third one was when I was in a taxi queue, and I jumped at the front of a taxi queue. I don't know if I did it on purpose because I was arrogant, I thought I could, or if I was so drunk that I didn't realise. And a guy started shouting and screaming in my face. And I try and remember what he looked like, but I actually don't know because all I can see is my dad's face shouting and screaming in my face. So this didn't happen all the time. It's not like every person I would go out and fight with would be like me getting back at my dad, but obviously there was some subconscious anger there towards him. But in this exact scenario, this guy was actually 40 years old and I was 25 at this point. This is the last time I went to prison, 24. So he was actually like significantly older than me, felt significantly older to me at the time. And he just really triggered me, reminded me of my dad. And I punched him once and he hit his head flat on the ground, face first. And I thought I killed him because he just didn't move. His face was just planted in the ground. And the thud that I heard from the concrete, everyone turned around from the train station and just looked. And I looked up to the corner and saw the security camera and just thought, oh, okay, I'm going to jail. So I put my coat over his head thinking he was dead, put my hands up and thought this is making me my best chances of getting a sentence, and waited for the police to arrive. Everyone rushed around him and tried to help him and stuff. And then they wouldn't tell me what happened. And I even asked my friend, he came up to the window and he said, he don't know if he's dead or not. And then even in the cells, they wouldn't tell me if he was dead. And then the next morning they told me that he was in a coma and he also had a brain hemorrhage. So this was my second GBH, my second brain hemorrhage on my file. So of course I was sent straight to prison. I know that 3 days after he was out of the coma and I believe made a full recovery. I've tried to reach out through probation, restorative justice and things like that. But he has no interest in speaking with me. But I hear that because he's actually local in the area, somebody that I know knows of him. I believe he's fine, although I don't know what's happening to him mentally, if that's had any impact on him.
Do you ever think about that with guilt or feelings of remorse?
I really want to get to the point in my life now where I can say yes to that. But I also don't want to lie. I want to try and, I'm going to try and really think about it, because usually when you ask me that, like I get asked that question, my default is no, because I just think and I just tell my story and I'm not going there. But I've done a lot of work in myself in Bali recently and I'm really trying to. So I'm going to really see if I can get there. No, I don't. No, it's still not there. I don't even know what that feels like. That's the thing. I don't know how to even get there. Even to try and summons it up, even to try and aggravate it a bit, to try and make it feel. I regret logically the impact that's had on him, and I know that that's not fair. And I feel sorry would obviously not make sense. I think sorry for him. Like I wish that had never happened to him, because nobody deserves that. But just having a feeling of whatever remorse feels like, I just don't have it. I was one of the worst of the worst. I was always the craziest one, and that was me. That was my identity. But then I kind of got this realization that I was the problem. I was causing this, because I'd also started to, I was blaming everything and everyone around me, and I was thinking about all these things and thinking, well, of course my life's going to be like this because of all these things that have happened, and But I realized that if I wanted my life to change, I had to change myself.
What changed for me is starting this company, KD's Dream. But that started in prison. I was given my 4th sentence, which was for Class B. My mum Today she's a nurse. She's been a nurse for the last couple of years now. I've been in and out of prisons for the last 6-7 years, so it's taken a toll on our mental health and so on. And that's when I actually stopped to think, whoa, do people actually know the full consequences of actually going to prison, coming out? Young people need to know this. They need to know the full extension of the truth. Us as a company, we've delivered that truth and that's in their hands. But what we can't do is not give them that truth. We can't hide away the truth from them. It's not fair.
The situation's mad, like I said to you. For a human life alone, it's such a blessing. I have respect for human life. It's a bad thing. I feel guilty. What a waste of life, man. Why can't you just be a normal person, a good guy, man? You know what I mean? Like, what a waste, man. That's what I feel guilty for, the waste of life. You know what I'm saying? What I don't feel guilty for is defending and doing the right thing. You know what I mean? What comes natural to us as humans to protect.
If you're going down a gang life, any young person out there or any adult you know that the young person is, the signs to look out for would be the changing mannerisms, the changing clothes, the changing friends, the changing music. And there's many people you can go to. You can go to social service, you can get police, you can talk to teachers, community activists. For parents, don't be your child's friend, be a parent. Let's be honest, it was most self-inflicted. We chose to do gangs. Yeah, we got groomed, but at some point we knew it was wrong and we still carried on. Trust me, crime ain't worth it. It doesn't pay. Being educated and being legal and a good person pays off. I'm living proof. Don't make no excuses. It's not about where you start. It's about the middle bit, that journey, and it's about where you end up in the end of the race.